Hey guys, it's Julian, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how to make techno breaks and builds. I have the project file for my new track, Dark Forces, in front of me. Definitely go check this track out if you haven't already. The link is in the description. Go run it up, leave a comment, leave a like. I just dropped this track, but I'm going to be using this to show you how you can make your own breaks and builds. I feel like this is a little bit better than, say, if I just create like a little hypothetical break right now that's never going to be turned into a track. You know, this way you're learning from an actual track that's been released that actually works with other techno tracks, and it's a little bit of a different standard, I feel like. Also, with this video, I'm not going to be dropping any sample pack or project file or anything like that, but if you want to check out my sample packs and my project files and my templates, presets, all that stuff, the link is in the description. Definitely go check that out on my Bandcamp. If you want to support me, it's a great way to do it. I've got a bunch of awesome stuff on there as well. If you like this style of techno or you like my videos, you will love the stuff on there. But yeah, this is the break that I'm going to be using to show you some techniques here. Alright, so the first technique here that you just heard me using is using space. So what I mean by this is I feel like a lot of times with music, and especially with build-ups and breaks in dance music where people are trying to build tension and add a lot of energy and stuff, music is really just about like kind of creating a space that people can fit themselves into. And if you have too many things going on, what's going to happen is it's not really going to create this space. You're just going to create like kind of an overload. It's like when I say fit yourself into it, what I really mean here is like, you know, if you're listening to this track, even though it's tense, you have space to think. Like, you have space for your own thoughts. Your brain isn't just getting overloaded by how many things it's hearing at one time, to the point where you can't do anything. But with this, you're really able to, like I said, fit yourself into it and think and like have an actual thought about it without just having to think, oh, there's this happening and there's this lead and there's this and this effect's hitting me in the face. So that's the first thing. Definitely creating space. Like you can see with this, you know, it's really just the main elements. We have like some drums, we have a bass, we have a lead, and we have a pad. And that's really all that there needs to be, because with these things, we're able to tell the story. It's kind of like, you know, if you're writing a book, for example, you don't just create a new character every few chapters, or you don't just bring in a new character just because the old characters are getting boring. Instead, what you do is you use the characters that you created at the start, that you established, that the people reading the story have already gotten into, and you have things happen to them to kind of carry the plot along. So that's what you want to think about here. It's like that. It's like, instead of trying to just add a bunch of stuff or just have a bunch of effects or whatever it may be, try and create a space that people can fit themselves into. And if you want some good listening for this, to try and like figure this out, try listening to music by the XX. They were actually the people where, like, listening to their music, where I learned this from. It's like, they do a really good job, because their music is very minimal, of kind of, like I said, just creating a few elements that you can then kind of like insert yourself into the song and here's some space there. So that's what you want to aim for, is try and create some space. Don't try to just have as many effects as possible and as many things happening, but instead just use a few things to carry it along, like I said. Next thing here is going to be automation, and more specifically, saving the automation for the breaks. So if you look at this lead here, this is the lead. You can see here it's frozen, but you can see this is the automation of the cutoff on the filter. If you look at this, you can see the loudest and most intense point is right at the climax of this break. Like if we look earlier here, you know, it doesn't really open that much. Even here, it's not really opening that much. And then even over here, it still isn't quite as high up there as in the break. So this is something that I feel like can be easy to forget, because a lot of times, you know, you want to make a sound move and you want it to change, so you want to move the filter all over the place. But it's important to save the loudest and most, not even the loudest, but just the most intense part, which would be like here, you know, the filter being all the way open. for the break. Because what's going to happen is if you've already given away this, this full open synth in one of your drops, the break isn't special. It's like, you want to think of it like, what is happening in this part that isn't happening in the other parts? Like, why is somebody not going to skip through this part? Why are they going to keep listening to this? How are they going to be compelled to not be bored and not skip to another track? Or if it's a DJ, how are they going to want to play this track? What is going to make this track really shine? And this is something that I think is very important for that. Like I said, it's saving something so that then in this break, which is ultimately never going to be as hard as the drop, there's still something really cool and exciting for people to want to listen to. And this also goes back to what I was saying before. It's like I could just have no filter automation on this and then say have like a big and a in the background or something. But instead of having those, I'm just using this, and I've elected to tell the story with this element rather than try to add another one. You can see some other stuff too, like with the pads here, like on this one, for example, you can see same deal. This is all closed here, closed off here, but then it gets the loudest right here. Right as things are about to go out. So, yeah, that is definitely something very, very important. And if you listen to I've been listening to a lot of interviews with different artists, like I said, like people who make actual techno tracks released on actual labels and not just like tutorials, but like actual techno. That's what they all say. Like, they're always trying to find a sound that has that like extra little bit where you can take it to, and then they save that for the break and do this. So the next thing here that I'm going to talk to you about is kind of getting creative with it. What I mean by this is, doing something that isn't just like with the snare or like a big white noise sweep or even just like opening the filters on your synths. You can do those things, but then also doing something creative with it. So the way I did this here was using this clap. Like if you listen, this is going just like really straightforward. And it adds something really cool there to pick this up, I feel like. Because if you listen to this, like, through here, we're getting that snare a little bit. And we've got some stuff building up. But you can hear without that clap. This part doesn't really, like, grab you when it gets to right here. But when we have the clap, you can see now. There's that thing that's just like kind of grabbing you and like pulling it along. Like this is how I like to think of elements like this. Like this is just something a little bit more creative, a little bit more interesting that is kind of like picking the listener up and just like pulling them along a little bit more. It's like just something a little bit different. You don't hear this in every techno track. And we still have this. Yeah, we still have our mainstays. And of course, we still have building from other elements as well, but it's like adding something like this is just a really good idea for like making things a bit more interesting. And it doesn't have to just be this clap either, it could be anything, but just something that is gonna like happen right before to kind of like pull us along a little bit more. And this also goes back to what I was saying before too, with like having space, it's like you couldn't do this. Like, if you had a super, super full track where you had, 3 leads happening, maybe another layer of pads on top of that, like some more effects happening on top of all this, adding this wouldn't be that effective. And it would honestly just be like, just shouting in the dark. But because we created a space where something like this can fit into the track, it works, and it's gonna be effective. It's kind of like, if you've ever had anybody in your life who like always gets mad, the first thing they do is they get mad. They just throw everything at you. Then every time they throw everything at you, or every time they throw something new at you, it's not really going to be that effective. Like, they're not really going to get your attention. But if you have somebody who is normally calm and normally, doesn't do stuff, just stays kind of understated like this break, then all of a sudden, when they come at you with something like this, it gets your attention. So kind of an abstract comparison there, but you can see what I'm saying. It's like stuff like that. You need to create the space for something like this to fit in. Something like this isn't going to work if you already have a million things happening, but it can be very effective in a break like this where you're just using the space that you've already created to build the tension. So that's pretty much it for this one. Those are the main techniques I want to talk about. Like I said, I just wanted to make something a little bit different. There are a lot of tutorials that I've seen like this, but none of them, most of the time, they're just like, okay, add some white noise, add some automation. I wanted to really talk to you about the techniques that people are thinking about, like, beyond those. Like, everybody knows, add some white noise, add some automation, do that. But these are the things that people who really take their tracks to the next level, I feel, are thinking about. So that's me for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can check out my new track, Dark Forces, in the description. Definitely check it out if you liked all the stuff I showed you in the description. Honestly, this is one of my favorite tracks I've ever made. I'm really excited that it's out now. Also, if you want to support me, make sure to check out my sample packs and project files and presets and all that stuff in the description. There's a bunch of great stuff in there, and it's all pretty cheap. And yeah, so thank you so much, everyone, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.